This is lesson 2.4, which is more about linear equations, in particular parallel lines and perpendicular lines, and then also point-slope form, and a little bit more slope-intercept form. So first of all, for lines to be parallel, their slopes are supposed to be the same. And that makes sense because if two lines are never going to intersect, then they're going to have to be kind of at the same steepness, which is what slope refers to. So slopes are equal if two lines are parallel. Now for perpendicular lines, the slopes are opposite reciprocals. Now what kind of numbers are opposite reciprocals? Well, for example, 3 and -1/3, or the number 2/5 and -5/2. So they're not just flipped over, they're also opposite in sign. So if the number was -7, since that's 7/1, that would become -1/7. Perpendicular means that the lines intersect. To form a right angle. Okay, so the first example, write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form that goes through the point -3, 5 and is parallel to y equals -5x minus 4. Now, parallel. Well, first of all, what's the given slope? Since it's in y equals mx plus b form, the given slope is -5. So the parallel slope would be what? Well, since parallel lines have the same slope, then parallel slope would also be -5. So there's two ways that we can do slope-intercept form. One way is we can start with point slope and then solve it to put it into y equals mx plus b form. So we're going to be using a slope of -5, and the point is -3, 5. So point slope, remember, is y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. So the variable y stays there, and the variable x stays there, and everything else gets plugged in. So y minus 5 is equal to the slope. My 5 looks kind of weird. Y minus 5 is equal to the slope, which is -5, times x minus -3, which becomes x plus 3. Now remember, we were trying to give a slope-intercept equation, so let's go ahead and simplify by distributing. So that would be y minus 5 equals -5x minus 15. And then we're going to add 5 on both sides. And our slope-intercept equation would be y equals -5x minus 10. Now another option of how to get the slope-intercept equation is to start with the y equals mx plus b. This is what you tend to do more of in Algebra 1. Plug in the 5 for y, the -5 for m, and the -3 for x, and solve for b. So 5 is equal to 15 plus b, and if we subtract 15 on both sides, we'll have -10 equals b. And then make sure you actually write your answer, which is the slope-intercept form. The slope was -5, and we just found the y-intercept is -10. Now, it's good that we got that answer because, look, they're the same. Again, your choices are start with point slope, plug in, and then simplify, solve it for y. Or you can plug into the slope-intercept and then solve for b, making sure in the end to make an equation that's in slope-intercept form. Okay, and then the next example, it says write an equation in point-slope form, and it's supposed to go through the point -6, 1 and be perpendicular to the equation, to the line with the equation y equals -3x plus 7. So the given slope -3. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocal, so it will become positive and then flipped over 1/3. Now we're trying to get an equation in point slope form, so we'll plug into y minus y1. Y minus y1 is 1 equals the slope, which is 1/3, times x minus x1, which makes it minus -6 or plus 6. Now, in order to graph that, you could simply start at the point -6, 1. So -6, 1, 2, 3. Well, it's kind of small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Put you right there. And then perpendicular to the line that was given, remember, had a slope of 1/3. So from that point, if we go up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. We could also go down 1, left 3. And there's our line. Now, just to check, this is not actually part of the solution. This is just a check. I'm going to take that point slope and put it into y equals mx plus b. So y minus 1 is 1/3 x plus, and then 1/3 times 6 over 1 becomes 6 over 3, which is 2. And then let's add 1 to both sides. So we've got y equals 1/3 x plus 3. Now, why is that good? That's good because if you were going to graph that, where would you start? Now remember, that's your y-intercept. Look, right here on the graph, there's the y-intercept at 3. And then what does this number represent? That's the slope. So if you started at the number 3 and did up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, we would be tracing out the graph that we've got. Now remember, your answer was supposed to be in point slope form. So this is your answer. Down here was just a check. Now you are going to be doing the rest of these problems. So there's 4 problems here having to do with parallel, perpendicular, point slope, slope-intercept, and then a few more problems that have to do with using intercepts and standard form, graphing and such. This is the end of this part of the lesson.